So I got this comment, and I get similar comments a lot like this. So the commentator said, I wonder why they were under sanctions. Couldn't it be anything to do with the fact they were an evil dictatorship that were guilty of human rights abuses on their own people and the deaths of millions of people? This is your favorite half Chinese. Now see, this is a huge flawed ideology. My dear friend, I'm not attacking you here, but I want you to understand why this ideology is so flawed, so you will not and others will fall ever in this trap ever again. Let's first apply this flawed ideology upon ourselves living in the West, considering the post 9/11 wars alone, where we, the NATO states, are responsible for the loss of lives of 7 million innocent people and have displaced 39 million people, in other words, made them refugees, and destroyed entire nations and destabilized entire regions. Shouldn't we, the collective West, not be under economic sanctions and economic embargoes and have intervention after intervention on our nations instead of we doing that to others? Did it ever occur to you that the economic sanctions and embargoes are always targeting the innocent civilians of a country and never the government? And that sanctions and embargoes never ever had a positive outcome, but instead brought more suffering to the people. Like in China, they were a huge factor in contributing to the loss of the millions of Chinese lives that you are talking about because of the famine that the sanctions and embargoes caused. The great leap forward was bad policy. Everybody acknowledged that, even the CPC, as the party today, doesn't even agree with those policies. So they are also not in place today. Bad policies do not give the West the right to starve the Chinese people. Just think of the next scenario in China. Oh my God! Europe installs a bad policy. Oh, let's sanction them and put some economic embargoes on them so we can suffocate the already suffering people instead of helping them to improve their lives and alleviate them from suffering. Would that be okay? Just think of this. You say the Communist Party of China is bad. Therefore, we will treat the Chinese people even worse. How does that make any sense? So who is worse here? Who is actually the tyrant? Who is actually the dictatorship? Let me know in the comment section. It is like I am accusing you for mistreating your family, therefore I will do even worse to them. That's literally like a judge sending the victim of a crime to prison because the criminal is a bad person. Did it ever occur to you that the government in China was installed by the people through a revolution by the people? And did it ever occur to you that the United States of America didn't want communist countries, and that is the reason why they have been strangling China with sanctions ever since 1949. It was never about the Chinese people, and that is the reason they have been trying to overthrow the legitimate government of China so they could install a United States favorable regime like the one the people of China overthrew in 1949. So they can exploit the Chinese people even more, because that's more likely to be the case than not, isn't it? Because that's what they have been doing all over the world until this very day. Sanctions are not placed on other nations by the West because they care about the people. To have that notion is ridiculous, because sanctions are punishing those exact people they are actually trying to convince you they are caring about. For instance, all the sanctions on the Uyghurs. Because you love them so much? My question is, if you love them so much, why don't you want their businesses to thrive? Then why do you want them to be poor and without food? Because that is what sanctions are doing. So let's take another example. Did you know Iraq sanctions deleted 500,000 children? What did those children do wrong?
We have heard that 500,000 children have died. I mean, that's more children than died in Hiroshima. And you know, is the price worth it?
I think this is a very hard choice, but we think the price is worth it.
And all because Saddam was a bad actor. So there I have two questions. If Saddam was so bad, then why did the same West that deleted him put him into power? And why did they delete him after they had put him into power? Was it one, because he was a bad actor? Or number two, because he put his country and citizens before Western interests? Let me know that in the comment section. Then we have Syria, the sanctions on Syria and the stealing of their oil.
And then they say he left troops in Syria. You know what I did? I left troops to take the oil. I took the oil.
And wheat grain make the lives of the people in Syria miserable as hell. All because of Assad is a bad actor, according to the West. So if he is so bad to his people, then why are we doing worse to the Syrian people? We are literally stealing their wheat grains and burn whatever we cannot steal, so the Syrian people cannot even bake their own bread from their own grains. And then we say Assad is a bad person. Look, his people are dying and are hungry. Bad, bad, bad Assad. China was worse off before the revolution than it was after the revolution. The people chose for communism out of their free will. In fact, it was they themselves, the peasants, who fought in the revolution against an army sponsored and armed by the West. All those Chinese heroes that lost their lives in the revolution were because of Western weapons. Yet, the Communist Party of China is to blame. This is not an attack on you, my friend. I sincerely hope you understand that type of ideology is extremely flawed, and it doesn't make any sense if you really think about it. I hope you can also see now what we are doing to other nations that are under sanctions and economic embargoes. The West doesn't care about humans or human rights. As evidence, I give you a simple question you have to answer to yourself. Which country was better off after Western interventions and sanctions than they were before? Iraq, Syria, Libya, Afghanistan? If the answer is none, then why do you condone it and think it is because those countries' legitimate governments are bad actors, and so we should do worse to their people? Please try to understand it. We have destroyed all those nations. They are all destabilized, and all of them are suffering immensely because of us. Yet, we are still pointing the finger and say they're the bad guys. Also, notice all those wars were based on lies, proven and admitted by the West later, after the fact. Do you still believe they place sanctions on China because they care about China and the Chinese people? Do you still believe the fairy tales they are telling you? How many times they have to lie to you before you take the words of Western mainstream media with a grain of salt? A quick note, 96% of the world's media is in the hands of the West. So sometimes you think it's not Western media because it's a news outlet from a non-Western country, but it is still the same. Anyways, I hope you get my point here. No, it was not because the government was bad. It was because the government had the best interest of the people in China at heart. And therefore, they did not allow Western hegemony to run China at the cost of Chinese people. Therefore, the government is deemed as bad by the Western regimes, who have no qualification, by the way, to talk about human rights after their history and present. Please let me know what you all think of this in the comment section, but please keep it respectful. We are not uncivilized, brainwashed barbarians, unlike some others. This was your favorite half Chinese, and as always, have a great day.